Well, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be wiring in the smoke detectors on this house reno. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, stick around, it's coming up. All right, so I picked up a hard wired smoke detector, actually 3 of those, and I'm going to go through the process on that. So there's all kinds of different options out there, so you'll have to just pick whichever one suits you best. If you've got if you need carbon monoxide detector, you can get that as a combo unit. But for us, we just got a regular smoke alarm. And if you note here, it says AC powered. So let me kind of go over that real quick. Open it up here. Looks like your normal smoke detector. We've got a battery compartment right here, which will be our backup supply. And then on the bottom side of this, you're going to see we've got a few connections there. And down in our box is a connector, and that connector has 3 conductors coming out. We have black, white, and an orange. The black is going to be your power from the panel. White will be your neutral, and then your orange wire here is going to be your traveler. And basically what that allows you to do is once these are all tied together, if one of them trigger, then it will go ahead and beep the rest of those smoke detectors that's in that circuit. So with that said, when we go to run our wire, we're going to have to be running a 3 conductor wire between the smoke detectors. So we'll have our regular 2 wire, which I'm going to use 12-2 for my panel out. You can use 14-2 if you like. 12-2 is just what I've got a bunch of extra here of, so I'm going to use that instead of buying a small roll of it. So in your 12-2, you've got 2 conductors and a bare copper ground. So you can see we're going to have a black, a white, and our ground. So the black and white will mate up accordingly to the connectors right here on the smoke detector. And let me slide in here in the other room real quick where I've got my 3 wire kind of already started on this. So here's my 3 wire. This is 14 gauge, which is more than sufficient. And we've got a red, white, and black. So the red is what we're actually going to be connecting up to the orange wire that is on that connector. Not a big deal. So in this house, we've got most of the ceiling and everything has been ripped out for the reno, but we've got 2 rooms and a hall that are already drywalled and finished out. So we're going to have to add smoke detectors into each of these areas. And to do that, what I'm going to end up using is just a drywall box here. I'll show you. It's got the tabs on it. That way I don't have to worry about trying to fasten it to one of the ceiling joists. I can just find me a spot in between those, and then we can just stick it right up into the drywall. So in this case, we're going to put one somewhere out in this area because it's easier to get to there. The reason I'm not going in the middle of that room is I've got 2 ceilings, and it's kind of hard for you to see, but that ceiling in here has been dropped down, and the old ceiling is about 6 inches above it. So for me to get in to the middle of the room somewhere and get the smoke detector connected is going to be difficult. And then the new room in here, we're going to be going out in this area, probably somewhere right in between those 2 lights. And in order to locate that one, I'm going to actually climb up in the attic and I will punch a hole through that. And that's just going to indicate that that's a good spot for me to cut open the box. So back here in the kitchen, I got our utility room here, which you saw me build in the last video. And then I'm going to be sticking 1 smoke detector back up over here in this cavity. And then that's going to get my 12-2 from the panel straight to it, and then we're going to be pulling out of it with the 14-3 to connect up all of our smoke detectors. So that's about the gist of it. I'm going to go ahead and flip over to the time lapse a little bit and go ahead and pull in my wire, go ahead and get my holes cut, and then we'll go through the wiring procedure. All right, so I've gone through and got my boxes installed for the 4 smoke detectors that we're going to be installing here. And here's the one in the front bedroom, which is where I showed you that 14 3 wires. So that one's already there, so we're gonna be pulling off of that. If I go in here to bed 2, I actually changed the location, ended up mounting it back here closer to the closet. So I just used my plunge tool and knocked the hole out, traced it out, cut the hole out, and then put that box in place. And then in here in the living room, I got the other one installed right there. So there's 3, and then if you recall, I was going to put one right in the utility room here, which is that one. I've already pulled my 14.3 from that bedroom one all the way to this point. And so now I'm just going to go up in the attic, take my 14.3, cut it, push it down through the box, and then we'll be ready to do some wiring. All right, so I got my wire pulled into the boxes, and if you note, this one's got 3, so I got an in and an out, and then I branched off of this and ran straight over this direction into that living room to pick up that other smoke detector. And the reason I did that is because I didn't have enough wire to go from the bedroom one, which is kind of where we started at, back up in there, all the way over to here. So that utilized my wire. I think I had about 1 foot left, so I had just enough to get where I needed to get. So I've also went ahead and ran my power supply. I have not cut that off of the roll yet, but I've got it ran up into this box, which is going to be the feed. So anyway, we'll get into the termination piece of that. We've got 2 of these that we can go ahead and terminate because they are already in the finished portion. So we can terminate this box and then the one that's got the 3 coming out of it back up in here. So we can terminate those and get that installed. So let's do that next. All right, so I'm up here at my box, and I went ahead and stripped back my 14.3 wire. So I got my red, black, and white. I got a bare ground. The bare ground we're not going to need, so I'm going to cut it off up here in just a few minutes. Basically, all we need to do is just take our wire that's going to be connected to the smoke detector and match up our colors accordingly. So we're going to have black, white, and orange, just like that. We're going to hook those together with wire nuts, and then I'll mount the box up here and put the smoke detector to the housing here that holds it to the ceiling. So we'll go ahead and do that now. Alright, so I've got it wired up, and I got the wires tucked up there in the box. Got my mounting flange installed. Got it clipped onto the bottom of the smoke detector. So we're just going to slide this thing up in here with the tabs. Just tighten it around, and that's it. So that one is done at this point. I'm going to leave my battery backup disconnected at this point as well, and I'm going to put on this dust cover. That's just going to prevent us when we're doing drywall work and stuff in here that we don't end up getting dust in there. Alright, so the dust cover is on at this point. Alright, so I guess now we'll go into our other room. This one is a little bit different. We've got the 3 wires there, so what I'm going to do is basically just connect all the colors up in common, and probably make a little set of jumpers that's going to come down and connect to the lead that goes to the smoke detector. So nothing too crazy there. We're just going to match them up. So I'm going to get set up, get those stripped back, and get them connected. Alright, so at this point I have stripped back each of my 14.3 wires that I had in the box, and I have wired in the connector that's going to go down here to the smoke detector. So next step is I'm going to tuck these up into the box, and then we'll put the plate that mounts the smoke detector on, and then the smoke detector can be plugged in. Right here is your plate. This needs to be unscrewed from the smoke detector itself. So we'll go ahead and get that done, and then I'll show you what more completed. All right, so we got it plugged in. We're just going to simply just put it up here into the bracket and turn it until she locks, and then we're done. All right, so I got the plastic cover put on that to prevent the dust. And then the other two that I've got are in the new construction area, so I'm not going to be able to do anything with those. I'm just simply going to have to just cover up, strip my wires back and then cover up. See that one? So we'll just strip that back, put it up in the box, and then we'll have to get everything situated for drywall. So that's what I'm going to do next. All right, so we're in the utility room. There's my last smoke detector. I've already stripped my wires back and got them up in the box. Next step is I need to wire in. I got two circuits right here that need to be wired into that panel. One is the smoke detector circuit, and the other one is for the furnace. So I'm going to go ahead and pull my front panel off here. We'll get those wires routed in and connected to the breaker, and then we'll get the knockouts and everything done so that we can put the cover back on. So let's go ahead and do that next. For this, I'm going to flip over to the time-lapse camera, and then you can watch me wire up this panel. Alright, one thing I wanted to point out here is a lot of times you'll see me cut this little section of sheathing off of the wire. So basically what I do is I measure where my connector is going to be here in the panel. It's going to be coming out of this one right here. And I go ahead and I cut that off, and then I eliminate about 5 or 6 inches of sheathing, but then I'll leave the rest of it on. And basically the whole reason for that is whenever I push this wire up through that connector, I don't have 3 wires coming loose in a hot panel. If I'm not wiring a hot panel, it's not that important. But in this case, this keeps all the conductors together until I get it positioned, and then I can strip the rest of that sheathing off and then take each wire at a time to get that where it belongs in the panel. So anyway, I got the last circuit to go right here. This is the one for the furnace. Alright, so you saw me wire up the last 2 circuits here, which is the bottom 2 left breakers there in the panel. And so that's going to really complete all the electrical piece of this thing, which means I'm going to be ready for a electrical inspection. Probably calling for that here soon. I got a few other items to get squared away because I'll do a full rough-in inspection at that point. But anyway, that's going to wrap up this part of the video. There's quite a few items on it, but kind of showing the progression of where we're at here at this stage of the game. Once we get that rough-in inspection, then spray foam guys can get in here and they can do their thing. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Somebody else doing some work besides myself. But anyway, thanks for watching. Hit like, subscribe, share the video, and stick around. There's more coming up.